VCR players. You probably haven't heard of them before, and if you did, maybe you used them once. Now you're not, because you're living in today's age and world where people are using DVD players, Blu-ray players, or streaming stuff, or pirating stuff over the internet. VCR players have been slowly phasing out in the early 2000s and pretty much became obsolete once the DVD player rose to prominence. But I remember a time when the VCR player was probably the third most important item in my household as far as entertainment was concerned to me. The first one was obviously video games. The second was the computer and internet, especially once I switched over from dial-up to high-speed internet, and the internet became a wonderful new resource for me. Then third would be the VCR player. I was still watching TV shows back then, and toys, as I was growing up, they were slowly starting to lose my interest. So if I wasn't playing video games or using the internet, then the TV and the VCR player would be the third most important item to me for entertainment purposes. The most important thing for the VCR when I had it back then, was for recording TV shows that I could not watch at the time. This was especially crucial as far as Saturday morning cartoons were concerned, because I was always going somewhere on Saturday to Chinatown. Obviously, since I wouldn't be home to watch Saturday morning cartoons, the VCR player was very important, as I'd be able to record the TV shows that I wouldn't be watching at the time when I'm out. Some of the stuff that I recorded, well, actually I don't think I recorded a whole bunch of stuff, but stuff I definitely recorded was Pokemon, Digimon, X-Men Evolution, Jackie Chan Adventures, and actually I think that was about it. 4 shows. I know that my sis would put a label on the tapes that we recorded over saying what's on it, and we never had more than 2 different shows being recorded on those tapes. So it will say Pokemon / Digimon on one tape, and then on the other it would say X-Men Evolution / Jackie Chan Adventures. For the most part, I think the shows I recorded often was Pokemon and Digimon. But that's not to say that those were the only things I watched back then, but those were pretty much the only TV shows that my sister and I recorded on tape back then. Whatever TV show that we were watching and did not record, the time we spent watching it was probably the only time we could ever watch the episode of a particular TV show, unless it was an old rerun of the episode. I was horrified at one point when I popped a cassette tape back into the VCR at a much later date and found out that the VCR player could not play any of the footage that my sister and I spent so much time recording. All that effort wiped just like that, and there was nothing wrong with the tape, but the VCR player was just not going to be. The VCR player had its day. So that was really unfortunate. It was a huge slap in the face to me back then. But honestly, in hindsight, it wasn't as huge of a loss as I thought, since the internet is here to save the day. Whatever kind of TV show you want to watch, you don't need to record it. You can just go ahead and watch it on the internet. You don't even have to go through some shady means to do so. And even then, at this point, the VCR is if you use a VCR to record back then, it is now obsolete in the face of the DVR, which accomplishes the same thing. And you don't have to worry about one thing with cassette tapes, which was keeping track of the film roll. Because if you wanted to record a show, you also probably would end up recording the commercials, and you weren't there to monitor the TV show to make sure that you weren't recording the commercial breaks. You have to keep track of the film roll and make sure that you had enough to record the TV show on top of the commercials that you probably don't want on your tape. But the DVR doesn't have that issue, and so the VCR player, if it were to exist today and people use it to record stuff, then they are pretty much either stuck in the past, or they really want to do things like old times for old times' sake. At this point, there's really nothing that interests me on TV, so if I were to continue using a VCR player to record, I really wouldn't be recording anything at all. I used to have cable, but I wouldn't be using a VCR player to record in it. I'd be using a DVD player instead to record stuff like movies and TV shows, but mostly movies. Now all I have are a bunch of channels on my TV, on my HD TV that is. And aside from TBS and the Conan O'Brien show, nothing else on TV interests me. What I want to watch is on the internet, and probably will stay on the internet, so it's not like I have much of a choice in the matter. But yeah, it's nice to acknowledge an important relic of my past, the VCR player. It's going to remain an important part of my past, even if I don't think fondly of it now. Hope you guys enjoy this gameplay and commentary, and Insanity is out.